How's it going, guys? So we are live. So, as per the usual, haven't notified anyone that I've started the live stream. So, I'll post in our group right now, in our Telegram group, that I'm live on YouTube. So, I'm going to do post in our Telegram live on YouTube. And that'll bring some of you guys here. And then we'll just start when you guys start coming in. Yeah. Abdul Ram, how's it going? When you guys start coming in, just put comments in the what's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? Yeah, just put comments, ask your questions there. Yeah, you're first here. Ask your questions. Give the live stream a like so it kicks the algorithm up, brings more of you guys here, and then just ask your questions there in the live chat, and we'll just start the Q&A. I'm doing well, Abdul Aram. What's up, A? Sabi. What's going on, Sabi? Joy. Greetings, Mike. Always good to see you. What's up, Joy? Yazid. What's up, Dr. Mike? How have you been lately? Good, Yazid. What's up, Yazid? How you doing, man? Sabi. Guys, as you're joining the live stream here, please give the video a like so it kicks the algorithm up, brings more people here. Sabi, is NVMe 25 really hard, like everyone says? Has everyone said NVMe 25 is specifically very hard? The notion that any one NVMe is harder than another is pretty much nonsense, because you're going to get varied myths of that in that regard. Okay, people will say, e.g., NVMe 29 is hard. It's nonsense. Okay, so you said it's my next one. I did 24, last got 79%. Sabi, 79% is really high on an NVMe. That's a troll, because most people are like praying to pass, and like 79% is like basically acing an NVMe in this new era of the pass fail step one. So that would be getting like high 240s or something, like 240s at least equivalent, when you need a 197 internal to pass. So AJ, what's going on, AJ? How are you, Mike? I started doing NVMe starting from 15. I mean, I've said 20 through 31, free 120. You don't have to do 15, but that's cool though. If you want to get like your warm up, quote unquote, that's probably what you're doing, is you're just doing those questions, not caring about the score. And then ultimately, yes, 20 through 31 with free 120 prior to form 25. I should have mentioned that, Sabi, by the way. You want to do free 120 prior to NVMe 25. That's the order I tend to put it in. Guys, give the live stream a like, por favor. I really appreciate it. It'll bring more people here, the algorithm. Let's see. A says burning out finishing up the second pass of the CMS form is going to keep it pushing though. That's good, dude. Yeah, you got to do the second pass of the CMS forms. That's really important. So I've said for step 2 that you need to not only finish UWorld or Amboss, but that you're going to do one pass of CMS forms, NVMe 6 through 8 offline, double pass of all the CMS forms, free 120, 9 through 14. That's what you want to do. It's a good idea. A burning out, I just fucking read it. Joy Rahib Kalo. Do you recommend using the UWorld interface notebook flashcards for CK? I don't really care. I just want you getting through your questions. I don't really care, like, if you want to use their, like, note system, whatever it is. Just, I've said you don't need to annotate. I've said you don't have to do that. I want you reading the explanations. At the end of the day, I give my students flexibility to like do what they want insofar as they meet their quotas. So for example, if you can get, I've said bare minimum 40 QBank questions a day, maximum 80. If I have a student who's getting through like 80 questions in a day and, is looking at my PDFs and doing my YouTube MCQs, like if the student is hitting the quotas, then I'm like, knock yourself out. You can do whatever you want to do. But if I have a student who's like doing 30, can't get past 30 questions a day and is like trying to make Anki from UWorld, that's not a good idea. Okay. So let me see. Yazid. I'm surprised you are one of the very few people who has pronounced my name right on the first try. Yazid. I mean, Yazid. I don't know how many ways would you like pronounce that? Like that seems pretty like straightforward, right? And I butcher everyone's fucking names here. Otherwise, that's what's interesting. Well, I butcher a lot of people's names here. Joy says, if so, any recommendations? I just answered your question. Carson, what's up, Carson? What are you up to, Carson? It's good to see you. Hello, sir. My exam is in August. I read your PDF. Score 66% better. What should I do? And also start to watch your audio cue bank edition, something more. Carson, it's a very like, you're lucky my English is excellent because I have to like sift through. If I'm an ESL, I don't know, maybe if I'm an ESL, like I'd be able to read this better, right? Like ESLs can read other ESLs better. Maybe that's like what happens. But I had to like figure out, I had to like discern like what you're asking me here. I've said you're gonna do the tetrad, right? It's pretty standard. Tetrad being QBank, Amboss or UWorld, my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs, the NBME content. So, and you say, what should you do? Do more PDFs, do more of my YouTube playlist. So Delph says, hi guys, NBME 27 last month, 60%. You got a 6% NBME 27, 64% NBME 25. Those are both fails. NBME 31, Sunday 64%. I don't like those percentages, but they're not awful. And your exam's on the 29th. I'm scared. What should I do? I'd postpone. I don't like borderline scores like that. I've said I don't like people YOLOing. I don't want people YOLOing, right? If it's a scenario where your school says, fuck you, you have to sit, and I'm scaring you now because you're like, wait, I can't postpone. Well, don't let me like scare you, but I'm just articulating that I like to see scores that are like 2/3 and above, right? I like a buffer. I want to see people getting like 205, 210 equivalent plus. Obviously, pass fail step one, so 197 internal pass mark equivalent. But I've said you're going to go to Google Images, not Google Images, and you're going to type in NBME 27 score conversion Reddit, NBME 25 score conversion Reddit. And you're going to get the graphs. And you're going to plug your number of wrongs from each NBME into the best fit line equation. And it's going to give you your 3-digit score equivalent. Okay. And the reason I have you cumbersomely do this rather than just taking a 2-digit percentage and interpreting that directly, right? It's like a Celsius Fahrenheit conversion, is because the scales differ per form. So 64% on 31 is not quite the same as 64% on 25. Could differ only by 2 points, but I'm OCD and I like being very precise as in terms of my interpretations of students' forms. So, and I'd ask you, Delph, if you've done all of 20 through 24 as well. Okay, not just 25 through 31. I've inculcated that you need to do 20 through 24. As well as pre 120. So you need to do all those forms. And if you're not in a crunch to have to sit, if your school's not like, fuck you, you have to sit now, I would just postpone. Let me see. I would postpone so you're not YOLOing it. I don't like people fucking YOLOing it, as I already said like 7 times. Ali J, hey Mike, glad to see you here. Have you been catching up you have been catching up by watching my YouTube lives? Would you cover med cues or personal cues now? I'm covering med cues now. It's not about me. It's about you, right? If I've been doing this for like 2 hours and then I wind down, sometimes I'll do like non-med cues, but like for the moment, it's not about fucking me. It's about you. I'm trying to give you guys value, right? Sagar Patel says, hello, Mike. What's up, Sagar? What's going on? AJ. Mike, can you please suggest how to do? Someone just gave a super chat. I really appreciate your donation. I'll see your name and your question or whatever when I scroll down in the chat. So I'm not ignoring you, but I really appreciate your super chat. Thank you. AJ says, Mike, can you please suggest how to do your high yield PDFs 2 months before the exam? AJ, are you staying for step 1 or step 2? But the point is, 2 months out from step 1, you should be still in QBank, okay? Because your final month and 4 days, I've said, is going to be when you're really knocking out 20 through 31 and free 120, right? So if you're 2 months out, you'll be on QBank and you should be doing my PDFs. And I've said that you're going to do 40 questions in the morning. You're going to do, lunch or whatever. Then you're going to do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs in the afternoon/evening, second phase of the day. But that if you have the flexibility, so morning is always your 40 questions. That's fixed. The afternoon evening phase can be flexible, meaning let's say tomorrow you start reading my cardio PDF or something and you're like ADHDing out and you're like, I don't want to read right now. That's fine. You can titrate up to a maximum of 80 questions. But if you finish 80 questions in a day, I want you to do my PDFs and YouTube MCQs. Then maybe the day after that, you do questions and you're like, I don't want to do more questions right now. Can't stand QBank. I'm just going to read today. and you read like all my renal PDF or something. Okay. So the second half of the day, you've got flexibility, and that flexibility can help avert burnout. All right. But the first half of the day, as I said, that's going to be your 40 questions. So when you ask me, AJ, about how to go through my PDFs 2 months before the exam, I'm saying like you should be in QBank, and if you're in studying for step 2, that's you're going to be on the CMS forms. And after you finish 2 CMS forms per day, if you're not already burned out, which you probably will be, so that's already 100 questions. You can just do my PDFs in the evening. Nakia or Nakia, what's going on, Nakia? And thanks for being a member of my channel, because your name is green and you got my logo next to your name. Everyone else's name is gray. So thanks, Nakia. Hey, boss. Quick question: is all the information from the Audio QBank in the PDF? They're completely different. People ask that. It's a good question, right? They're different. There's going to be overlap in the sense that I'm communicating what's high yield to know for USMLE, right? So obviously there's going to be information, there's going to be overlap, but the manner, the style of communication is obviously one is audio, video, one is text. And the reason for that is because you guys have different learning styles, right? Some of you guys can't fucking read. There's those of you who can't read the PDFs. You're not capable of reading the PDFs. Okay. There's those of you who just like, you don't really like videos. Okay. You don't want to see me fucking do clips. That's not what you want. So there's people who only read. I've had different students. Okay. Some of you do both. Okay. So that's why I make a variety of content, is because all the information, it's good to do everything, but I just lost where I fucking was. Let's see. You get the point though. I mean, different learning styles or self-awareness, but do both. Do the PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. It's not one or the other. You're going to do both. Shrikar Chila. Hey, Dr. Mike. Or is it Chia? Because it's double L. Hey, Dr. Mike. I got you like quesadilla, right? I got you saying to do NBMEs 20 to 31. Is there an order to follow, or is it numbers as well? You're going to go in sequence, as I've talked about, right? So 20 through 24, then free 120, then 25 through 31. And for step 2, you're going to do first pass of the CMS forms 6 through 8, double pass the CMS forms free 120, 9 through 14. Carson, you have any subscription for USMLE CK? What the fuck does that mean, Carson? I mean, I don't know what you're asking, Carson. Are you asking to like pay me for something? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to like subscribe and like pay me? I'm just joking, Carson. Adam goodbye, Gaby. Hey, Mike, why don't you recommend doing Anki cards based on CMS incorrects? Wouldn't it raise the score? Yeah, it could, but I don't see it as critical. And it's because you're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms anyway. That's another reason. You're not doing a single pass of the CMS forms. You're doing a double pass of the CMS forms. So, there's, of course, that implementation, right? You could theoretically do that. I just don't see it as critical, as I just said. It's no different from someone asking, like, why do I recommend 20 through 31 and free 120? Why not like NBME 19 or 18? Why am I starting, like, Michael, why are you starting at NBME 20? Well, you could start at NBME 17 if you wanted to, right? Like, there's always more you can do. I just like sort of have arrived at what's practical, what's doable, for most students. And I just tend not to advise you can, but I tend not to incorporate Anki incorrect review into 2CK prep for students. I incorporate that as part of step 1 prep. That's what I tend to do. Joy Raheb Kalo, is it catastrophic if I skip a day doing a block after a hectic hospital day? It's not catastrophic. You have to be able to have days off. Okay, so you have to know your own thresholds for burnout. That's the thing. Like when I studied for step 1, I didn't take a day off the whole year. Like that's a long discussion, but people have different thresholds. Like some students, when I create schedules for them, like I have to incorporate a day off. Like, they have weekends off, or otherwise they won't do work. Okay. Or, people doing the NBME, sometimes I put like a day off every 4 days or something, like, because otherwise they can't focus. But then I get other students where they say, no, I can just work straight. And I'm like, good, because that's my personality style. Like I don't need days off in terms of doing work. but everyone's different. If you've got a busy hospital day, I mean, it's like a gym day. Okay, it's like you can take growth days, days off. Rest days are synonymous with growth days, so it's okay to take a day off. If for your equanimity's sake, it's going to help you study better when you're back on study day. Mustafa Muhammad, when you say that Amboss and UWorld are non-superior to each other, does that apply to the quality of explanations as well, or is it only for the? It's with regard to your score augmentation. I don't really. I'm not microanalyzing like when I say Amboss and UWorld are non-superior to each other. I'm microanalyzing the quality of the explanations, the library versus like it's not. It's none of that. I've made videos discussing and comparing and contrasting in that regard, but it's just with regard to score augmentation. That's what it is, right? I don't really give a fuck about the microanalyses. It's just if you're going to do UWorld or you're going to do Amboss and the student comes out the other end, what's the result? And it's going to be, well, they've learned a lot and their scores are going up and they can tackle the NBME exams. That's what it is. Okay. But you're going to have students who have different preferences as far as whether they like Amboss or UWorld more or less. Okay. Some people like Amboss library. Some people think it's like superfluous and a waste of time. Okay. I mean, both fucking Q banks are superfluous in different ways. So, life's about alternatives. And, they do increase the score despite their redundancy. Ali J, do I even have a chance? And then you say you're 2006 grad working in pharmaceutical industry since graduation, failed step one in 2017, passed CS, not good anymore anyways. Very fucking long from, I would say you're too far from graduation. That's subjective. Don't allow me to be a fucking asshole and tell you that you can't match. Show me. Like, be a data point. Show me. Be a data point so that when someone asks the same question and, like 3 years from now or something, or 2 years from now, I don't know, someone will ask the same question, be like, hey, I graduated med school in 2004. And I'll be like, there was some dude who graduated in 2006 and worked in the pharmaceutical industry and he matched. And I was an asshole and said he didn't, he likely wasn't, but he wasn't going to match, but he did. So you're going to have a strong 2CK and a step 3 to have a chance. You need to sit step 3 100%. If you get a strong 2CK and a step 3 within a year of applying, and you'd have to get your letters. You'd have to have letters with recent clinical experience. But I'd say you're too far from med school. It's as though like you haven't been in med school in ages. Ali J scheduled and never went to step 2, prepping for step 1 now. Do I even have a chance? What are you asking me? Oh, yeah, I'm just reading another part of your question here. Hi, Mike. It says Shay. What's going on, Shay? Arseny. Hello, how are you today? Quick question. For step 2 CK, when doing NBMEs online or offline, what do you want us doing one and then reviewing the next day to gauge progress, or 2 back-to-back for nerds? You're never going to do fresh NBMEs back-to-back. Okay, so never do 2 NBMEs in a day if you've never touched those NBMEs before. Okay, I've talked about this on prior live streams where the way you're going to go through NBMEs, from the way I have it for most students, is you're going to do an NBME over 2 days. So you'll do an NBME, you start the review process. Maybe you only get through 2 blocks of the review. The next day, you're going to finish the review of that NBME. Okay, I tend to have 2 days per NBME. It's a long discussion. Okay, I mean, clearly here I'm on the live stream. I could just talk about this for like 15 minutes straight. Why not? But I've said that for back-to-back NBMEs, that only has a role when you've already sat them. Okay, so you've already made Anki of all your incorrects from like various NBMEs, and then I have back-to-back days later on where I have you redo the NBME exams. So for example, 20 through 24, it's going to be 2 days per NBME, free 120 one day. And then I have 3 days in a row that are back-to-back NBME, back-to-back, so 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 with free 120 on the same day. And you're not making Anki those days. So those 3 days in a row, you're going to do all those forms back-to-back, but you just fucking did them. And you just reviewed them hardcore with Anki review. So it's not as fastidious because you already reviewed a lot of those questions, or all those questions. So, but that helps build endurance and it helps consolidate. Okay, so it's a long discussion. As I said, it's been 40 minutes on one question here. Nakia Brooks. Another question. There's a high yield images document in the Telegram group. Worth it? Yeah, it's good. Someone like apparently jacked all the NBME images, put them in a PDF, and then you can review that. That's in our Telegram group. Okay. You can DM me on Instagram asking, like, people fucking DM me all the time asking like where to find like NBMEs and stuff like that. If you just go to my website as well and you go to like, subscribe, there's a link to our fucking Telegram group there right now. But if you DM me asking on Instagram, asking for how to find the forms, I'm just going to send you a link to the Telegram group. Don't ask me like how to find the forms, ask your 4 fucking personal questions. I send you a link to the Telegram group and then you get salty because I didn't address your 4 fucking DMs. Okay. Nakia, thanks again for the $5. I appreciate your donation. Very nice of you. I can get like, I don't know, what can I get with that? Tea? I can get like a box of tea. I can get a box of tea. That's what I can get with that. Like a box of tea bags, like kocha, but like the good matcha and hoji chai have like the actual powder, the kona. So you call it kona as powder. That's like, more money. Delph says, yes, I've done all of them. My highest being the NBME 25 and 31 being 64%. Foad, J.R. Al Kozami. Hi, Mike. Could you please mention the best resource, books, textbooks, etc., videos, sites, QBanks for preparation for step 1? I'll depend then mainly. You're asking like a stage 0 question right now. Okay, you're just basically saying, I know nothing. How do I prepare for step 1? I mean, what am I going to do? Give you like a 19-minute discussion, one fucking question here, but I've like harped on that. You're gonna do Amboss or UWorld, okay? Forward, you're gonna do Amboss or UWorld. You can select either. They're non-superior to each other. So you're gonna choose a QBank. You're gonna go through the whole thing, untimed tutor random mode, 40, 80 questions per day. You're gonna do 40 questions in the morning. You're gonna take your lunch break or whatever. Then you're gonna have the afternoon/evening where if you feel like doing more questions, you can titrate up to 80. I never want you doing more than 80 per day. You're going to read all the explanations. You don't have to annotate, make Anki from them. If you don't feel like doing more questions on a given day, let's say you get to 60 questions. You say, I can do more questions today. I can do beyond 40. I'll do 60. You do 60, then you do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs, okay? Don't let it be though where you're doing 80 questions every fucking day and you're happy about your progress through QBank, of course, but you're not doing my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs, okay? You got to get through all that stuff. When you finish QBank Fuad, you're going to do NBMEs 20 and 21 offline. And generally, I want you above 60%, but I want you getting equivalent of a 190 to 196 bare fucking minimum, which is actually a fail. I allow people to fail 20 and 21 if they really want to push through and pass step 1, but I'll allow you to get a 190 to 196. If you get lower than 190 on NBMEs 20 or 21, you're going back to QBank, doing all the incorrects, which will be like another 2,000 questions probably, depending on how many you got wrong QBank in the first place. But if you can break 190 on 2021, I allow you to go to 22. If you get 197 plus to pass now, you have to pass. You can continue on with the NBMEs. If you don't pass any of the NBMEs 22 onward, you're going back to QBank for another month plus. Okay, doing all your 2,000 incorrects. I'm not half pregnant with any of it. You're not like you're not postponing for 2 weeks. Like you're literally going to do like another month of QBank. And then when you get up to around like NBME 27 onward or whatever, then I want it to be where you're getting like 205, 210 plus. Like it's no longer good enough to just pass when you're like 205, 210 plus, or sorry, when you're at NBME 27 onward. I want the 205, 210 plus at that point. I want that buffer zone. I don't want you YOLOing into the exam. I've harped on that. Thank you for whoever just donated super chat. Really appreciate it. In orange, I'll see who you are in your question as I scroll down the chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Ali H says, hello, I'm a Dio. And guys, if you're coming to the chat here, please give the video a like. It'll boost the algorithm. Ali H says, hello, I'm a DO student in America. What do you recommend for shelf exams for surgery? For surgery, you're going to do UWorld /Amboss, the surgery questions, right? So that's what you're going to do. And then you're also going to get through my surgery PDF. You're going to do high yield gastro PDF in particular. That's loaded with fucking surgery. Okay. If you're studying for step one, don't worry. I label what's 2CK in there, there's charts where I write like 2CK surgery only. And you're like, cool, I don't have to look at it. I'm studying for step one. Okay. But you're going to go through UWorld and Boss surgery questions. You're going to do the PDF for surgery. You're going to do my YouTube MCQs for the surgery playlist, right? You're going to do all the CMS forms for surgery. That's what you're going to do. That's how you'll high pass / honors your surgery shelf is you've gone through the tetrad for surgery. But you're going to do all the CMS twice, as I said. Got to do that. 8 surgery forms. So if you have a busy surgery rotation where you're at the hospital all the time, then you're going to maybe only get through 1 CMS form per day in the latter part of the rotation. So you're going to need 16 days to do all the 8 forms twice. If you have a not so busy rotation, they let you go home or go to the library after morning ward rounds, then you can probably knock out 2 CMS forms per day. Okay. AJ, thank you so much, Mike. And I am sitting for step 1. Waleed, hey, Mike, I just took the UWSA, I got 237. Is this predictive of my performance in step 1? Can I get this up to 250, 260? I mean, I don't really give a fuck about UWSAs per se. It's obviously good. Like it's good, but 237, but I want your NBME scores ultimately. Okay. So you got to have the NBME scores. You have to. I've said that I incorporate UWSA only if someone's exhausted all the NBMEs. Like someone's come to me and they say, I have a prior fail or 2 on the STEP exam, and I've already used all NBME 20 through 31. Then I could have them do like NBME 19, or I can have them do UWSAs. So UWSA, it's like I just take it with a grain of salt because it's not the NBME. That's why. But they are actually fairly predictive. Faria Fatima, post-grad prepping for step 2. I want to earn some money. Should I take a part-time job or only study? I would only study. I would use your like desire / need for income as an incentive to like do better study. Like for example, you're going to study full time, you're going to go hardcore, and you're going to say, I really like wish I had a part-time job right now. And you're going to say, well, by studying very fucking hard and being efficient and not wasting fucking time, not procrastinating, making sure I really do what I need to do. Then when I get this exam out of the way, I can take my job or whatever that I want to do. That's what you're going to do. Okay. I've had students with jobs, kids, different situations in life that will drain their time. And, it's never ideal. Okay. For step prep, it's a full-time job. Like medical school is like, you're supposed to be like, if you're in your 20s, it's easier to get through med school because you don't have as many responsibilities. But I've had students who are like I've literally Skyped students who are like in their 50s who have like families, kids, full-time jobs, whatever. And like, they're like, I have a full-time job and I'm trying to study for prep. I'm like, all right. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not ideal, but it's real life, right? Kwaku, Darkwa, NBME 25, 72%, NBME 20, NBME 26, 68%, 80%, 77, 77, 76. Should I take it next week? Bro, you're fucking like, your scores are solid. It's a troll. It reads like a troll because you get like, most people are just trying to fucking pass and your scores are, that's like the equivalent of someone saying, guys, I got in like 240s on my like step. Am I okay? Right? It's like solid. So it's good. Should you sit next week? Yeah, you're ready. Why any particular order we should be taking NBMEs for step 2? They released NBME 14 recently. Also, how long would it take to do all the CMS forms? I've said you're going to go in numerical order 6 through 14. That makes sense. You're going to do all the ideally, okay, you're going to do all the CMS forms. It's going to take you 3 to 3.5 weeks because you're going to do, there's 45 to 50, around 50 forms. I say 45 to 50 somewhat loosely because sometimes it's hard to find a form or 2 offline. Someone will be like, I can't find this form or whatever. I'm like, don't worry about it. You've done like fucking 47 forms out of 50. I mean, it's sort of good enough, right? So it's like you get through at least 45, 50 forms, right? So you're going to do those. and then you're going to do 6 through 8 offline, and then you're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms, then free 120, then 9 through 14. So 3 to 3.5 weeks per pass the CMS. That's like, 6 to 7 weeks ish. And then you've got 6 through 14. So probably like another 2 weeks after that, right? So you're talking like at least 2 months, 9 weeks. And then you've got, so that's 9 weeks, over 2 months for just the CMS double pass and the NVMEs for 2CK. And then you've got QBank that you did prior to that. You should be doing all of UWorld or Amboss. So that's around like 2 months. So USMLE step 2 prep is 4 months. Yeah, Kia Brooks. Okay, I'll just revisit the videos if I miss it. Mark C. Do you have step 2 specific PDFs? The answer is yes. I've got OBGYN, got peds, I've got surgery, right? I mean, they're on my website. I used all your PDFs. That's a question I tend to ignore through DMs. That's a question I tend to ignore. Like someone will like send me like a fucking like mousy DM asking like a dumb question, and then like I ignore it, and then they unfollow. I'm like, good. Like, I mean, right? They like people get salty, like as if I'm like full of myself for like not responding. It's like, well, I get asked the same dumb fucking questions like 14 times a day, 24 times a day, whatever it is. And then it's like, what do you want me to do? I need like a fucking bot to like respond to some of these dumb questions. I used all your PDFs for step 1. I'm wondering if I should review them again, or do you have something else that is step 2 specific? Yeah, you can do the subject PDFs for the step 1 cardiopulmonary gastro heme. Those are like step 1, 2 amalgamated PDFs. Like the concepts are integrated. So like, yeah, you're gonna do use those for step 2 as well. People get very like, ardent and ignited about like, the notion of a step 1 versus 2 PDF. Like they want to avoid any type of overlap. But that's not really how it works. Like, you say, I don't want to touch anything 2CK, right? I'm studying for step 1. I don't want to touch anything 2CK. It's like, well, there's overlap, right? So it's you'll handle it. Ahmed says, can I forgo the audio QBank? I'm not a good audio learner. Well, as I said before, I mean, there's a variety of content I put out. There's self-awareness. So I think it's ideal to get through my YouTube MCQs. But if you feel you're not good at a certain thing, like, just be mindful that you could get a better score augmentation if you can somehow enable yourself to digest the YouTube MCQs. Muskin MGN says, doing your PDFs along with your audio QBank system feels like forgetting. I feel like I'm forgetting everything I read from your PDF, what to do. Also doing UWorld 40 per day. Don't know how to manage time. Doing your PDFs along with your. Well, you don't have to worry if you feel like you're forgetting things. Like that's normal. I've said that the process of remembering, forgetting, like that's like standard. I don't really care about the subjective element of you, like, how you feel going through things. Like I just objectively say, are you knocking out questions? Right? Objectively, are you finishing the questions? Objectively, are you finishing my PDFs? Objectively, are you knocking out my YouTube MCQs? If you are, like, that's fine. As I've talked about like numerous times, like people, whether you're scoring really shitty or whether you're scoring well, like people will always feel like they're forgetting everything. You're getting like 250s and you're like, I'm forgetting everything. It's like, that's how everyone feels. Quadruple 2. Mike, would it matter if I did a full pass of the CMS forms before QBank 3rd year? I wouldn't recommend that because you're just exhausting the NVMe content early. Like you could, but why not just do QBank? You're asking about CMS forms before QBank. I don't think you need to do that. Like you're not going to be able to quadruple 2. You're not going to be able to handle the CMS forms. You're going to feel they're too hard. And you're going to be getting like a lot of fucking questions wrong. You're going to be getting like out of 50 questions, you'll get like 35 wrong or like 30 wrong. You'll just tank them. Like you need foundation first. You need to learn from QBank. There's a reason there's a sequence in how I like prioritize the resources. Marcos Rocha, what is the longest one should wait to sit after completing all the NVMEs? With favorable scores, you shouldn't be waiting. Once you get favorable scores, which means obviously pass with a buffer, you should just sit. You shouldn't be waiting. Shea Gamer, Giant Reviewed. I did NBME 20. Here we go with the whole list of scores. 61%. You got a 199. And so you got a 199 on NBME 20, 201 on NBME 21, and then UWSA, you say you got your 232. This is what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck about UWSA because it's the NBMEs that matter. I plan, even though that, yeah, that's weird. Like I've said, UWSAs can be predictive, but it's precisely for this fucking exact reason that I don't like UWSAs is because the student's confused. Shay, you're confused because you're like, well, what do I look at? The answer is the NBMEs. Okay. So that would be an incorrect assessment of for UWSA then. I plan on doing more NBMEs before my exam, reviewing and correcting your PDFs. Exam is July 15th. Do I postpone? Uh, you're right on the fucking cusp. 197 and this is a perfect example of what I talked about. 199 and 201 are just pass. The internal pass mark for step one is 197. I don't like students YOLOing. Okay. Now you're in a situation where you're going to get closer and maybe you get like a 202, 203. You're just fucking passing your NBMEs. I don't sign off on that. I'll tell the student, like, even though you're passing, the buffer is not large enough for me to want you to sit. I'm not going to sign off on it. So, the student wants to sit anyway, they fucking sit. If they pass, great. But if they don't pass, it's like, I told you not to fucking sit. It's always worse to take a fail on the USMLE than it is to be inconvenienced and to postpone. I like 205, 210 plus. That's my advice, Shay, is I'd want to see 205, 210 equivalent for you to sit. Lone Wolf, hey Mike, is enough to do only the latest 5 to 6 NBMEs for step one if I'm scoring greater than 6% on all of them? The answer is no. I want you doing 20 through 31, including free 120 prior to NBME 25. Naveed Asgar says, hi Mike, currently doing CK, UWorld, along with my job, and it feels like missing out on most of the things. Well, I gotta fucking drink more caffeine to handle this question right now. You guys fucking like this shit, don't you? How nice is that? You fucking like it. I've said if you want one of these, you can on my website the social icons at the top, like Instagram, YouTube, etc. There's a basketball icon. You can get these mugs there. Hi, Mike. Currently doing CK UWorld along with the job. Feels like I'm missing out on most things while doing questions. How to fill those gaps? I still don't know what you're asking me. You just feel okay. You feel like doing questions alone isn't enough to like cover your knowledge gaps. That's okay. You're gonna feel that way. Well, that's why I fucking said like do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs, right? How many times have I like said the same thing? So like, you're gonna do questions in the morning, and then you're gonna do my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs later on. That's gonna fill in your gaps. You say, well, you have a job. Well, what have I said? You're not supposed to have a job while you're supposed to be full time while you're studying for USMLE. But if it's real life where you say it doesn't matter, I have to have my job, I have to support myself, my kids, whatever it is that you're doing, that's real life, and you have to like own it. That's just the variables. Those are the mini adversities you're dealing with right now. Ali Harvey, we now have NBME 13, 14. Can I skip UWSA? I've never fucking said UWSA is priority. Ali J, take a rest. Even do rest to rise. What the fuck does that mean, Ali J? Sabi, let's see. I lost where I was. Sometimes when you guys, oh Shay, I really appreciate the $20 donation. Really fucking appreciate you, man. That's a big fucking donation. Appreciate it. But I'll scroll down to that. I just saw the big orange rectangle. Sebi, would you say your audio Q&A questions are around the same difficulty level as NBME USMLE? That's a good. I'd say maybe some of my questions they're more difficult. No, it's hard to say. Like I don't fixate on that. There's questions I make that are hyper pass level. I think I put one out like I don't know, like yesterday, the one I did on repro, where the answer was like it was Kleinfelter, and it was like increased FSH, and like someone commented like this is like too easy or something. It's like, well, no fucking shit. Like the whole point is to like have like pass level stuff. I'm not trying to be like gotcha. And then occasionally I'll have a question that's harder. Okay. I mean, that's what it is. But if I understand the translation of your question is you're asking a question as far as like when you're going through my audio queue bank, my YouTube MCQs, and you're getting questions wrong repeatedly, or you're getting questions right. Does that gauge your score in any way? You're not to use my YouTube MCQs as a gauge for your score. It's just casual. You're going to use actual NBMEs to gauge your score. Don't worry about whether you're getting questions right or wrong on my YouTube MCQs. Even though, like, yeah, they're good questions, right? Volchi. Hey boss, need help. NBME says loss of function mutation, calcium sensing receptor, parathyroid would prevent it from sensing low calcium. You must be smoking some wild fucking blunts if you think I'm going to address that right now. This would cause pseudo hypoparathyroidism. It's like it reads like a triple troll of some kind. It's fucking 4:14 a.m. I'm like barely holding it together, you know, and like I'm gonna address that. It's laughable. I did 3 hours of tutoring before I did this live stream right here. Let's see. I don't want to talk about like medicine, like content. It's not what I want to talk about. People are like, Mike, you're so passionate. It's like, I mean, it's like, what do you want me to say? Ali H. Hello, you rock. Your PDFs are awesome. Thanks, Ali H. Sagar Patel. Hey, Mike. How do I revise micro? It's too long and I never did Anki or Sketchy. I've said my high yield dermatology PDF is loaded with micro. I've said that. Okay, it's loaded with fucking micro. High yield dermatology PDF under my free stuffs tab. It's free stuff tab. Okay, you're gonna do that. Micro also. I've got PowerPoints on my YouTube. If you go in my playlist, not the YouTube MCQs that are like 3 to 5 minutes. I'm talking about actual like 45-minute micro PowerPoints. Holy shit. Okay. So I have those on my YouTube. Let's see. I mean, I'll eventually maybe make micro cards or something. You guys are here at a moment in time, you know, like if you were here last year or here you knew me 2 years ago, there weren't as many PDFs or, you know, there weren't things updated the same way. Like there weren't as many YouTube MCQs. Like things have gradually been evolving. So, you know, if you were to be a new student next year or in 2 years, yeah, I'd be like, do my micro cards, right? That currently don't exist. Manur Shah, how can we get palpable? What the fuck are you asking? No fucking idea what you're asking, Manur. That's like an ESL question off the rails. Yeah, I need like I don't know what you're asking, Manur. Ali J, good point. I'm a mom of 4 little ones. I can't leave work. I'm the only breadwinner, but doing it step one, just to prove my mom wrong. She says I'm not a real doc. She can go fuck herself. No, I'm just joking. Look, you'll do what you need to do, right? Ali J, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna have to balance it. That's how life works, right? So it's easier when you're 24 and you're in med school and you have no other like responsibilities. You can just like study or, you know, that's all you have to worry about. But when you're dealing with, you got 4 kids, as you said, or you've got a full-time job, you got to, you know, support them. Then, you know, yes, there are variables. That's how life works. But yeah, you know, when you got a chip on your shoulder as far as like needing to prove to someone like your mom and your dad or like, I mean, that can be a positive variable, right? Because it pushes you. That's actually a shared trait sometimes with high scorers is they have a chip on their shoulder. Like people who score really high, it's because they need to like prove it to their dad or like prove it to their mom that they're like good enough intellectually or something. That's how I was with my dad. You know, I talked about this in one of my prior live streams, like back in the day. Like my dad used to look at my high school report cards and then just like put it down, and not say anything. If I like, even if I did well, and that was like a chip on my shoulder I had, and you know, that's sometimes how it is. Volchi, when reviewing NBMEs, do you recommend focusing on the explanations for the wrong answer choices and looking it up whenever we don't understand from the explanations? I don't recommend like over fixating on incorrect answer choices. For NBMEs, it's a gray area. Okay. So, and I've said this a lot, that if you get a question where there's high yield differentials like tamponade, cardiac tamponade versus pericarditis versus cor pulmonale versus constrictive pericarditis, right? I mean, you got like all these answer choices there. Yes, you'd want to know like how to distinguish them. So uh, you could be aware of the incorrect answer choices in that regard. But for example, if you got a weird enzyme question where it's von Gierke disease, right? So glucose 6 phosphatase deficiency, and then you've got other obscure enzymes that you've never fucking heard of. No, you don't have to worry about those answer choices. So it's a gray area, the notion of uh, to what degree you're fixating on incorrect answer choices from the NBME exams. If it's QBank, I've said I still want you just quickly reading everything. You're not annotating or taking notes, taking notes or making Anki from QBank. The NBME exams, you're going to review absolutely everything. But just you gotta subjectively feel out if something's high yield versus is it a waste of time. Nikia Brooks, LOL. Hi boss, N. Hi boss. Tips for maximizing CBSE score. That's a trolling fucking question. I put out a clip like I don't know a few weeks ago on how to ace like how to get through comp CBSE. It was like the one of the worst performing clips I had. It's very niche, you know. Um, like for example, like 99% of you are studying for steps 1 or 2. So if I put out a clip that says like step 3, you guys ignore it and it gets like shitty views. But I put out a CBSE comp video, which was fucking excellent fucking video, best on the fucking internet, and it got like shitty views because like you guys are like, what's CBSE comp? That's not me. So you ignore it. But you're gonna go in order to ace/pass CBSE comp finally. You are going to yes prep for it the same exact way as you will for step 1. You need to know NBMEs 20 to 31 free 120. That is correct. And if you've averaged 70% recent NBMEs, if you said here, that's good. So comp's a long discussion. Passing comp used to mean that you were ready because comp was administered by NBME at pretty much every school. Now schools like SGU, which with their BSFCR, AUA, I think Avalon. There's some schools that are not doing an NBME sponsored comp anymore. They're doing like a Kaplan sponsored comp. Absolute garbage. Okay. So that's not going to assess your readiness for the USMLE. But the long story short is look up my CBSE comp video. Vakya Ravanur. What is considered a good safe score on the CMS forms? I'd say at least 35 out of 50. You want to be getting at least, that's like a 65, right? You want to be getting at least like 2/3. 40 plus is good. 40 out of 50 is good. Manur Shah, could you guys guide me regarding what the fuck are you? Here we go again with the same question. I don't know like you copy and pasted like your highly obscure question twice. It's got to be like rewritten. Div, why is the lamp not changing colors? Let's see. This is you like this shit? Check this shit out. Let me see. Let's see if it'll change. There we go. How's that? That just changed. There you go. Now it's changing colors. There, I made it brighter. There. Are you like more comfortable now, Div? Do you feel better? So there's this remote, and then I've also got an app on my fucking phone with like a color wheel. I can make that shit any fucking color. I can make it like pulsate. It can like respond to music as well. Although I haven't used it for that purpose. Shay, yeah, again, I'm seeing your giant orange rectangle. I appreciate the $20 donation. Ayad Ali says, I started solving NVMe 23 and 24, and they were 210 plus. Can I continue to 25 to 30? No, you're not going to skip 20 to 22. No, you're not. You're going to do 20 and 20 through 22. Hot Pink Polish. That's a cool name. I have a lot of friends in Poland. I was in Poland in January. Really good gyms in Poland. Better than Japan. My step 2 CK is in less than 10 days. Should I prioritize reviewing NVMEs? Yeah. already done with them except the newest one? I'm assuming you're referring to 14, or do the CMS forms? You're 10 days out, so you should be focusing on the NBMEs 6 through 14, or anything else you think I should do in these last few days. No, you're just gonna do NBME 6 through 14. And you can, if you feel like you have extra time, quote unquote, you can do like the internal medicine CMS forms. Delph, what do you do if you've exhausted all the NBMEs and U World Self Assessments and the U World Self Assessments? I'm assuming Free 120 you've exhausted as well. You could do forms prior to 20. You could do like NBME 19, NBME 18, right? That's what you could do. At some point, it becomes like not ideal. Like we can't, it's never a forever situation of like, there's always this perfect form to do. Like, no, you're not going to do like Kaplan self assessment or like USMLE RX or AMBOSS self assessment. That's when we venture into like, now they're not even predictive. Ali H, I watched all of your live streams. I had a problem with YouTube, so couldn't comment, but you inspired me. Well, you're commenting now. Thanks, Ali H. Mark Cuban, Mark C. Internal medicine shelf prep suggestions. Yeah, I mean, you're going to do all the internal medicine forms, the CMS forms times 2, right? So you're going to do all 8 CMS forms. You make sure you do those twice. You're going to do my internal medicine YouTube MCQ playlist. It's a massive fucking playlist. You're going to do the high yield mixed review PDFs 1 through 4. Those are based on the internal medicine CMS forms. If you're studying for step 1, those are still good to use for step 1. You can just ignore clinical details in there. And of course, you're going to do QBank questions for internal med, right? So you finish all the UL questions or all the MBOS questions. Y says, no, I'm not answering that. Yes, got some cuck resources. I'm not answering that. Ali H, do you advise people? How do you advise people on Comlex as well? Yeah, and so the thing with Comlex is, you're gonna have your OMM Blue Book nonsense. I literally just had like a Comlex student like a couple hours ago. I was teaching Comlex. Yeah, you're gonna have your it's like 270 pages Blue Book nonsense, but you got to go through it for OMM. ComBank will have your OMM questions in there. The ComSays apparently they don't give you feedback, right? Like you just get your score, like 460 is pass, but you're not getting a score. Sorry, you're not getting explanations that are like, the equivalent of doing the NBME exams. I just lost where I was in the chat. Where the fuck was I in the chat? Here we are. Moogle 900, throwing a fucking cat in there. Samuel Tofor, I'm a non-US IMG from Ghana. Passed step 1 with a 240. No, you passed step 1, you got a 243 on 2CK. No US clinical experience. Any chance of matching without US clinical experience? You have a fucking high 2CK. That's like laughable. And I think being from Ghana is an advantage. I think that's an advantage. Like programs aren't looking for like more American white dudes like me. Like programs, if you're from like Ivory Coast or something, or you're from fucking like Namibia, right? That's an advantage. That's not a disadvantage. That's a huge advantage, in my view. Let's see. Sometimes you guys post something and I lose where I am. But obviously, do what you can to get like a letter. U.S. clinical experience will help, but you can do what you can in that regard. Guys, if you're joining the live stream, please give the video a like. Srikar Chilla, any recommendations for pre-made Anki decks? Dr. Mike, I just see 2 subject Ankis on your website, Biochem Farm. I mean, do you recommend any Anki decks that have other subjects in them? I don't recommend that. Arseny, I also wanted to say I appreciate your straightforward style of teaching and notes. It gives me clearly defined goals without the extra nonsense. Thanks, Arseny. Ali H, whenever I'm not motivated and watch your channel, you motivate me, brother. Thanks, Ali H. How long would you need for USMLE step 1? I would say 3 months is what you need, because you're going to need about 2 months for QBank, and then you're going to need a month for all the NBME exams. If you score 54% on free 120, well, that's a fail, right? So you need 2/3. Truth teller. Hey, Mike, as you say, the best prep for step two is solid step one prep. So why not advocate for studying for step one as if it's scored in reading first aid, etc.? Truth teller, do you need how many trolling questions do I need in a day? The thing is, it's about streamlining you and it's about what's practical. It's not that if you get a 260 on like internal mark for step one, that is like what you have to do now to ace 2CK. It's mainly in the negative direction. In other words, it's people who try to shortchange step one prep that get into trouble on 2CK. Okay. In other words, if you say, well, step one's only pass fail. So can I do like 20% of the Q bank? Do an NBME, I'm doing well, and then just sit and not have to deal with like 80% of cubing? The answer is no, because what's going to happen is you shortchanged yourself. And now when you get to step two, there's going to be weaknesses and gaps, concepts you haven't covered. It's just my observation. When I have students who are weak for step two, it's often because they just don't know basic step one stuff. Like they don't know murmurs or something, or like they're getting questions wrong on like DI versus SIDH versus psychogenic polydipsia, and they're like step two. And it's like that's like basic step one stuff. That's like high yield arrows for step one, right? So knowing which fucking subunit of like which receptor is like bound by some substrate or something. Like, I mean, that's nonsense now for step one prep. That was the stuff I dealt with back in the day for numerical step one. Adriano Fabi, I am an IMG from Switzerland and thinking of taking the USMLE. 2 questions. One, usually for surgical fellowships, all 3 steps and not just steps 1 and 2 are needed, correct? Well, I haven't heard of any programs like mandating you have a step. Oh, you're talking about fellowships right now? You're not even talking about like, you're not talking about just like the regular residency? You're talking about like fellowship? Well, step 3, you take in residency. I've said that if you've been out of med school for at least like 2-3 years, it's a good idea having a step 3 score. That's going to help, in my view. Adriano, do you personally believe a fellowship in the US is worth it for a career in plastic surgery? Would you do it yourself if you were from abroad? Do I personally believe a fellowship in the US is worth it for a career? Like, what does that mean? I don't know what that fucking means. A career for anything, a fellowship in the US. I don't know what you're asking. Like, if you think a US credential is going to help you back in Switzerland or something, is that what you're asking me right now? I don't know what you're asking me. Sometimes, like, okay, like I can give you an example. Like in Japan, if I go to like a dentist or something, they have like like a little plaque that shows that they did some like observership at like Tufts or like Columbia like 20 years ago. And like people who are like, either foreigner or Japanese, they might see that. And that's like, oh, they have like a credential. I mean, if that's what you're asking about, just some like ostensible credential that you think having that is going to help you back in Switzerland. I mean, it's probably like not so significant. Mughal 900. Today, my dad told me he was sick of my obsession with kittens. Plus, they are ugly as fucking third class. He told me they got out. They got 30 days to stay and they would be kicked out. What do I do? Take USMLE? It's funny. Sub B. Now do your biceps flex. Mira Kutab. My heart skips a beat every time you come live. Raimi Samir. Did as you said last time. NBME 28 was 220. I'm working hard shifts. How can I maximize my gains till the exam 23 days? You're going to focus on 20 through 31, as I've talked about in the final. If you're 3 weeks out, 20 through 31. Fawad. The only thing I need to hit the point of starting preparation for step 1 is a schedule. Please give me a best way to create a good schedule. Preparation from 0. I already gave an extended answer to you before, earlier in the chat, earlier in the live stream. That's what I do on Skype. Like I normally come up with like custom schedules for students, very specific schedules based on your custom situations. And they pay a lot of money for that. Ayad Ali, do you think it's worth to learn Hardy Weinberg since it's a pass fail? You don't have to stress over that. It does show up on the NBME exams though. Like my hyogenetics PDF nails it. Like it really does. My hyogenetics PDF's fucking ace for the Hardy Weinberg stuff. You'll know that really easily. But it's pass fail exam, as I said. Shri Aladasari, how to study for STEP after passing CBSE. I already finished forms 20 through 30 plus free 120. I'm assuming you mean 20 through 31 plus free 120. The answer is you're going to you're going to re-review 20 through 31 and free 120. Shri, that's what you're going to do. Because once you pass CBSE, presuming it's NBME sponsored, yeah, you're just going to redo NBME's 20 through 31 and free 120, literally. That's what you're going to do. And you can also do PDF review. I make sure students know high yield arrows. I make sure students know cardiopulmonary, gastro, heme. Raj Matthew, you're a good man. Lost where I was in the chat. Thanks, Raj. Wisdom Transducer. It's an interesting username. Should I buy UWorld or Anki for step 2? Well, UWorld, right? UWorld or Amboss. I've said that. Not Anki. N says, sorry, it's for dental school where score does matter and it's not pass fail. I occasionally have dental students who are, yes, they're doing craniofacial and they need a strong comp score. I understand that. And I understand that. It's the same as step 1, but 20 to 31 free 120 still. It doesn't change anything. Like I don't want you memorizing obscure receptors, as I've already articulated. Like you're still gonna, whether you are just trying to pass comp, like you're at a Caribbean school, right? Or whether you are doing craniofacial dental school and you need to like get a high score on comp to be competitive for your eventual, your dual program. You're still going to go through 20 through 31 free 120 and QBank. Like you're still going to do that. Nothing really changes. Like people who score high, it's not really about like you deciding you're going to memorize dumb shit versus you deciding you're only going to memorize like basic stuff. People who score high are going to score high pretty much regardless. That's what happens. Raymond Body, you mentioned one video that you prefer questions being done subject timed in tutor mode. Is correct. What is correct? Do you recommend reading explanations as we do the question? Raymond, difficult to read your question here. I said for QBank, untimed tutor random mode. So you're going to do the question, read the explanation, do the question, read the explanation. That's how I'm doing it. And you're not going to do subject specific if possible. For those of you who got like a quiz and GI and school in 2 weeks and you're like praying to pass just your school. When I have a student who's struggling to pass school, nothing to do with USMLE, just actual fucking school, then occasionally I have them do QBank subject specific. But if the student's not having any issues with school, I have them go through like QBank random mode. And then they'll do my PDF. They'll do like the gastro PDF, the gastro playlist, my YouTube as their subject specific to boost them for the school quiz that they have coming up. Div, woo, I'm here only for the lamp. What color should I change it to? Should I do red? You guys want to pick a color? Why don't I do red? There. There we go. Why don't we do something pulsates? There, that'll pulsate. Let me try that. All right. Let's see. What type of music do I listen to at the gym? The thing is, if I transition to non-med questions, it's 4:38 a.m. here. I want to try to answer more med questions right now because once my brain switches over to non-med questions, it's hard to. It's kind of a point of no return. I listen to like techno, electric music, sometimes like K-pop. Do you have any recommendations for audio review, like something you could do while cleaning or on the treadmill? It's difficult to do my audio questions if you're doing hardcore, like actual cardio. It's funny because literally someone just, if you look at my like Instagram story right now, there's literally someone who sent who had in their story, and I reposted their story as far as they were like doing my YouTube MCQs while on like the elliptical or something. But it can be difficult doing my YouTube MCQs while you're doing cardio because you know it's hard to focus. But if you're just like lifting, you can knock out my YouTube MCQs. Like listen to it like a casual podcast type of thing. That's a really good way to do it. Cleaning, yeah, good. That's what you want to do. Let me see. If you're a female and you clean, that's a plus. It's a good trait for a female. See, if I start making like controversial statements like that, people get triggered real fucking fast. What do you mean, Mike? That's a good trait for a female to have. What do you mean? That's not a good thing to say, Michael. Like, I mean, right? Yara Davis. Hi, Mike. I've done 20 through 27 and scoring 60%. Okay, so you've been taking fails. My exam's on June 27th. You need to postpone. Is there a way to get past 70% within this time? No, I would postpone. You need to postpone an entire month. I don't want you touching 28 through 31. Don't touch those forms, Yara. And you are going to you're going to go back to QBank. If you've I'd ask if you finished all UWorld or Amboss already, or if we need to go through and corrects. But I'd basically spend now until I'd basically do another month, and I would tell you that you're going to sit the earliest end of July. So you're going to do a month of QBank, and then you're going to do 28 end of July after a month, and we'll see if you improved. If you didn't, I'm not having you touch 29, 30, and 31, and you're going to go back to QBank again. So when I start proposing like extended trajectories like that, like where I say you're gonna have to postpone a month or postpone like 6 weeks, et cetera, and the student says, I don't want that. I don't want to do that. My like that's incentive for you to just like, really like study well. So it's not going to protract your trajectory more than it already is. Right. So my advice is like over the next month, do QBank fucking well with no dramas. Get through 40 questions per day minimum. Get through my PDFs. Get through my YouTube MCQs, and then in a month's time, you can do NBME 28, and we want a 205 to 210 plus on that. We want like high 60s. That's what we want, at least on the latter NBMEs 20 to 31. That's what we need. Otherwise, you're just going to be going back to QBank. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you asked if you're ready. The answer is no. You've only failed the 20 through 27 so far. So no, you're not ready. Pavit Momi. Hey, buddy, I apologize if you already answered this question, but which of your documents would you highly suggest for step 2? I'm in a bit of a crunch time. I know you have shelf form. Well, you're going to do the cardiopulmonary gastro and heme. You're going to do those. Obviously, then there's like pediatrics, obs-gyn, surgery. I know you're asking like which one specifically because you're in a crunch. I want you to do cardiopulmonary gastro. Yeah, you got to knock those out. And heme. Those are internal medicine as much as they are just step 1. Like there's overlap. Arseny. Just to clarify, a good trending score for CMS is 35 to 40 out of 50. That is correct. Is that for a first or second pass? That's for the first pass. After your second pass, you should be scoring over 40 for sure because you've already fucking reviewed the questions. Ali J, what does your mom think about you graduating med school? The fuck does that mean? Unless you're like asking, oh, okay, because I answered because before you were talking about how you're trying to prove to your mom that you can, do well in the exam, etc. Like I didn't associate your name with your prior, like the prior discussion we had, so I just thought that was like a weird statement at first. My parents, like I don't know, they didn't really like care. It wasn't like a big deal that like I mean, I guess it wasn't like a big deal. There's a lot of academics in my family. So like anything, I've got like very trolling academics in the family. There's people at like who've gone through like Harvard and stuff. So like that, like what I've done is like not a big deal. Like I have a family member who was like 9 years at Harvard, and it's like okay, like compare yourself to that, right? Manthan Patel, how do I decide what specifically I should do? I don't know what you're asking. Ryan Harris, NBME 14 was wild but fair. Why was it wild? Were there left field questions? There's always like quote unquote left field questions in any new form. And then once you learn the form, it's not a big deal. That's how it is for me as a tutor as well. Like if new content comes out, like if I see NBME 14, I might agree with you on some things. I might say, the fuck is this question, right? That happens sometimes. But then because I teach these forms and I learn these forms, you know, over time, that's how I'm able to like construct my PDFs as they are. I would say like student will see this question, be like, what the fuck? But really that kind of parallels or mirrors like maybe how I responded to it, right? Because I'd be like, what the fuck is this question? Then I see it 100 times and it's not a big deal. But Gentian, how to study for biostats. I've got a biostats PDF. And you're also going to just learn the biostats as you're going through the NBME exams. That's what it is. I lost where I was. Going through the NBME exams, going through QBank, like that's how you're going to study biostats. My PDF. Evan Peril, where can we donate to you? You've been so helpful. You can do super chats here. There's like an icon on the bottom to do super chats if you want, Evan. There's no entitlement. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying that's a possibility. I've also got Patreon. Raja Sohail, Mike, what is the best time to buy UWorld? Early in your prep because you need to go through QBank. I've said that. That's how you're going to start your prep. Sabi, wrong fucking answer. That's what Sabi wrote. I'm not saying that to Sabi. Sabi wrote that. Sabi didn't have a question. He just said wrong fucking answer. Gaurav, Tanasia. Can I do CMS forms and NBMEs instead of UWorld for step 2? No. I'm done with half of it and can't complete it due to lack of time. Question mark, question mark. Okay. If that's a situation where you literally like you have a time constraint, you can't get through, then I could say you would have to curtail QBank, right? If it's in one of those annoying / non-ideal scenarios where your school says fuck you, you have to say like you can't postpone, right? You're not curtailing double pass the CMS forms. You're not curtailing the NBMEs. Like you will do all the NBME forms and all the CMS twice. So it'll have to come out of QBank. That's what it's going to be. Raja Sohail, mention system which are important for step 1 and what systems are really important for step 1. Well, you have to know everything, right? I've said cardiopulmonary gastro like a million times and heme. SXWAS Atal. Should I use Amboss along with UWorld in round 1, step 1? You're just going to choose Amboss or UWorld, not both. Ayad Ali, do you think reading Reddit posts is toxic and harmful since you see people scoring 220 plus yet fail the real deal? It's very fucking rare, and you're gonna see the minority get amplified. You have to recognize that's how the internet works. Like people, if you're getting 220s on, like, think about this for a second. If you're getting 220s on your NBMEs and you pass step 1, you don't fucking like post about it. You just go on to step 2. The people who post are the people who have like, some sort of rare / obscure outcome or like, and then that gets amplified as though that's like the norm. It's not the case. It's very fucking rare to have like legitimate, like high NBMEs and fail, or there's a catch. Like the student, they did part of the NBMEs like many months ago. There's always some sort of catch. Okay. It's very rare. The NBMEs don't lie. That's the thing. They don't lie. Very fucking rare to have a good performance on NBMEs consistently in the final month. If you're doing things as I say, I've never had a student just like fail when having like actual solid NBMEs. I've had students lie to me about scores though. It's like, some students like feel bad if they're getting low scores. I'm like, you don't have to lie to me. You're fucking like paying me to like help you. Like, why would you lie to me about your scores? But I've had students occasionally lie to me about the performances. And I know because you can't get a fucking 260 on NBME, but then I ask you like what aldosterone does and you don't know. How long would you need to prepare for USMLE step one Farad from day 0? 3 months? I've said 3 months, yes. 2 Q banks? No. You're asking like stage 0 noob questions right now. Fawad, you're like hardcore like stage 0. What about first aid? I've said first aid is not like integral to step 1 prep anymore. I've said that. It's we don't have a numerical step 1. It's nothing against first aid. It's just, you know, we don't have a numerical step 1 anymore. So there's too much information in it. You need to just go through my PDFs, which are catered to the NBME exams. The F8 era is over. USIMG concerned, you're concerned of what kind of U.S. clinical experience to have, externships or observerships. I'm not like an expert on U.S. clinical experience in terms of that type of thing. Sri Al Dasari says is 68% NBME CBSE with 1.5 months out from step 1 enough. Well, 68 is like good, right? It's borderline. Like 68 is what I would want is for you to convert that to a 3-digit score, whatever NBME you set. That's what I'd want. Okay. So you convert that to a 3-digit score, and I want 205, 210 plus. But in a vacuum, 68% is a pretty decent score. Anything above like 66 when you're going into the real deal, that's good. Ikoa Ja Newer. Hey, should we just go through QBank, how to retain material from QBank and your PDFs? I said when you're going through QBank, you're not going to annotate, right? You're not going to take notes. You're not going to annotate. You're not going to make Anki cards. You're just going to read the explanations. That's all you're going to do. That's all I want you to do. Okay. So the notion of retaining material, like you feel like you're not going to remember things well enough. I want you to not worry about that so much. I want you to literally just like go through QBank and not like stress about like, what you feel like you're forgetting. Like even people who score really high feel like they're forgetting things. That's like a normal process. So don't like stress about like, you feel like you're not retaining enough from QBank and my PDFs. Like you got to just do your best to read and retain, but no, you don't have to convert everything into like an Anki card. Fawad says, how to reach you on Skype. Want to get a schedule? You can purchase hours through my website under the pricing tab if you can handle not paying rent. Angela, if you already took all the ladder NBMEs 26 through 31 and need to go back for studying, what do you recommend? Well, I mean, if you haven't done 20. Are you saying going back through studying because you didn't perform well on those NBMEs? What are you asking, Angela? You're going to do obviously 20 through 25 and free 120. You have to do those. But if you did poorly on NBMEs 26 through 31, like you failed them, then I would want you, before you touch 20 through 25 and free 120, I'd want you going back to QBank for an entire additional month. Okay, I don't want you touching another NBME. Ali H, what blue book are you referring to for OMM? There's just something called the fucking blue book. Literally, that's what it's called for OMM. Blueface, do you have doctors in the family? I do. Rafay Shahzad, is it okay if you go through entire UWorld and all NBMEs? Consider I pass them with good scores, but don't go through FA at all. I said you don't have to go through first aid. I said that. The FA era is over. We don't have a numerical step 1 anymore. People like somehow misinterpret this as like, Mike, why don't you like first aid? It's nothing against first aid. FA is an amazing compendium for a numerical step 1, which we just happen to not have anymore. Right? So, I mean, Angela, also, what's the best way to learn physio? High yield arrows. My high yield arrows PDF is like all endocrine physio. Ankita Fulia. Everyone I talked to had UWorld accuracy of 70, 80%, but I'm getting like 60%. Is that enough for passing? Well, I don't really care about your exact percentage in UWorld. I don't. Like 60s, anything 60s plus is good for UWorld, for QBank. Okay, like 50s and below, I'm not happy with, but 60s plus is good. But as I said, I don't fixate on what your actual scores are in UWorld because all I care about is the NBME exams. How do you perform on the NBMEs when you're done with UWorld? That's all I care about. Okay, ultimately. Judah, I'm doing a second pass of UWorld and I'm getting good scores, 60 plus, but I don't know if I really learned from my first pass or I just remember the answer. Any ideas what I should do? Keep going. Why are you doing a second pass of UWorld? I've never said to do that. UWorld incorrects, I've said you could do sometimes, but not a second pass of UWorld. I'd want you just on the, I'm assuming you're studying for step one. I'd want you to just try going to the NBME exams at this point, right? Like, that's what I'd want to see. Swaxis Atal. WXWAS Atal. There's some dude with weird name I don't know how to pronounce for USMLE who says it. No, I'm not addressing that. Zaydoa, Mike, I have 80 plus percent NBME step one. How can this correlate with step two CK score? And what is the probability of passing step one? Well, scores for step one tend to correlate with 2CK. That makes sense, right? Like if you're a high score for step one, you're with greater probability going to score higher on 2CK. So obviously that's auspicious for a future higher step 2CK score, getting 80% on 80 plus percent, as you say, on NBMEs for step one. What is the probability of passing step one? It's laughable. 80% is high on NBMEs, and then you'll just it'll carry over to 2CK, and then you got to study hard, and hopefully you can get a big score for 2CK. Vakya Ravanur, the CMS gives a score 15, 16, etc. out of 20. Which score would you say is a safe score? Yeah, I talked about this in yesterday's live stream. The Clinical Master Series are 50 question forms. And if you do them online, obviously they're available offline or Telegram group, but if you do them online, they will give you a score where 20, they say, is the average, not number of correct. It's very fucking weird. It's not 20 out of 50. Like they'll give you like 20 as like, they'll say is average and then a standard deviation of 3. So if you get like 25 on like one of the forms, you're like, wow, that's like almost 2 standard deviations above the mean. That's like really high, right? And if you get 15, 16, that's like, well, that's more than 1 standard deviation below the mean. That's not good, right? So you say, which is a safe score? Obviously, like minimum 18. Nothing below average we want to see, right? But I mean, 50% of the population is going to get below average. So it's like 19, 20 plus is like what we want to shoot for. But out of 50 questions, I've said like at least 2/3, like at least like, I don't know, 35 out of 50, at least 65% bare minimum. Drew Pierce, any family medicine shelf advice? Yeah, I mean, you're going to go through my high yield family medicine PDF, and you're also going to go through high yield risk factors PDF. I talked about this yesterday. High yield risk factors PDF is like a family medicine 2.0 PDF. It's a very fucking excellent PDF. And if you're studying for step one, because some students get hysterical about the notion of risk factors, I've already said that that's a 2CK tilt PDF, high yield risk factors. You know how I have like a paragraph preface at the beginning of my PDFs, right? Where I say this isn't like a 600-page superfluous document, right? I write that. Well, I write in the preface for the high yield risk factors PDF that it's a 2CK tilt PDF. But if you're studying for step one, you can still look at it. It's not a problem. It's just more management related. That's why. But that's how you can get through FM. So you're going to do obviously the FM for UWorld, Drew. or amboss, doesn't matter. Some people do ambulatory medicine questions as well from QMake. As I just fucking said, you're going to do my high yield family medicine PDF as well as risk factors PDF. You're going to go through my high yield, you're going to go through my family medicine MCQ playlist on the YouTube. And you're going to go through the 3 FM forms twice from the CMS, which are unfortunately, FM is underrepresented. No idea why. There's 8 neuro forms, but there's like only 3 FM forms. Stupid. Should be the other way around. There should be like 8 FM forms. No idea why they only have 3. Whoever just gave a super chat, I'll see it as I scroll down, but I really appreciate it. Appreciate your super chat. I'll see you as I scroll down. Ikwajanur. So by doing your tetrad, by just going through the stuff, not memorizing, is enough for 4 months of prep? I need to go through things over and over to retain. How could that be possible in 3 to 4 months? As I just fucking said, no matter how high you're scoring, everyone feels like they're not remembering enough. That's like normal. That doesn't go away. Like you're always going to feel like you're not like you don't know enough. It's one of the most frequent impediments I have observed and continue to observe in students prep. The notion of not remembering things well enough, and then the student gets emotional and then gets bogged down and just like doesn't make progress. You have to just objectively check off the resources, like objectively finish fucking QBank, objectively finish my PDFs, objectively go through my YouTube MCQs, and don't worry so much about the notion of how much you're forgetting. Being a civ is normal. You're going to forget stuff. Sydney Chang, 198 and maybe 29 2 days ago. You have your step in 11 days. I just wasted, or you wasted MBB's 30 and 31. What are your thoughts on my next step? You're not ready to sit. You have to postpone. You're planning 28, 27, the arrows. What about 23, 24? Do you do those? If I were chatting with you, if you came to me over the Skype, what I would say is you're going to do 20 and 21. Like right now, you're going to do 20 over 2 days. You're going to do 21 over 2 days. Both those forms. Sydney, if you do not score 205, 210 plus equivalent on 20 and 21, I would have you postpone. Even if you get like a 202, which is a pass, like a 197 is a pass, right? Internal equivalent. I don't have students YOLO. Okay. So I don't like people getting borderline scores. Now it's obviously autonomy at the end of the day. You have the choice to sit if you want to sit, right? So you say, well, no, fuck you, Michael. I don't want to postpone. I want a YOLO. I got a 203 at MME. I'm going to go for it. Go for it. But don't cry to me and be like angry and salty if you don't pass, because I want the 205, 210 plus. So you don't have to touch 27 and 28, and free 120, but I want you to do 20 and 21 offline. I mean, you should be finishing 20 through 31, all those exams. Okay. I know you're not going to want to postpone, but that 198 is too close. I don't like that. Also, it's the green book, not the blue book for OMM. All my fucking Comlex students say it's the blue book. So you'd be the first student who's saying the green book. I've literally had every fucking Comlex student. Like I literally had a Comlex student like, I don't know, 3 hours ago. I had 3 students before I started this live stream. It's 5 a.m. where I am right now. Cracked out. I've never heard someone say the green book, the blue book. Okay. But in Japan, like traffic lights, maybe because your last name's Chang. In Japan, traffic lights, like they don't say they're green, they say they're blue. That's what's weird. Like they're red versus blue. It's like it's fucking green, right? But then they call them blue. It's like, I don't know, fucking opposite or something. So that's probably what it is. You think it's green, but it's blue, right? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Just like cracked out. This is where I start to transition to like non-med questions at this point. Judah, is it true that some cues on the real deal hold more weight than other questions? No, it's not. They're all the same. Amir, should I do UWorld first, system-wise, or random? I said do random mode. Let me see. I lost where I was. Guys, I've been doing this live stream for an hour and a half. If you have any non-med cues that you want to ask, you can ask some non-med cues in the chat. I've said do UWorld random mode, random untimed tutor. Only time I have a student do like system, as I said, is if like you have a quiz in school or something. You're not passing in school. You're afraid of like failing school. I could have you do like a subject, like you have a renal quiz in school next Friday, and you're afraid that you're not going to pass school. I could have you do like the renal questions, from QBank, but I prefer not to do that because for USMLE prep, it's better to have macro retention enhanced by doing things in random mode, seeing things at sporadic intervals over time. Preparing for step 1, was recently reading your MSK PDF, but found many diagnoses I'm not aware of. Are they specific for step 2? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's the purpose of studying, isn't it? Is that you're going to learn things you didn't know before. I mean, it's overlap with step 1, step 2, but you got to know, like, if I put something in my PDFs, it's worth knowing. I'm assuming you're referring to like things like spondylolisthesis, those types of diagnoses, lumbar spinal stenosis. Those are more TCK, but you should know them for step 1. Let's see. Swasti, Shri, Chandola. A little late, but I just want you to know you are an amazing teacher. Thanks, Swasti. Timetable 5 months for USMLE. It's too long. You don't need 5 months. Step 1, you're just going to do 2 months of QBank, followed by 20 through 24 free 120, 25 through 31. For step 2, you're going to do 2 months UWorld or AMBOSS, 3 to 3.5 weeks, all the CMS forms, 6 days, NBME 6 through 8. Another pass of all the CMS forms, another 3 to 3.5 weeks, free 120, then 9 through 14, about 2 weeks. So 4 months for 2CK-ish, 4 months of 4+ months. Step 1, 3 months. Yeah, I'm like cracked out right now. I don't think I can like answer more med questions. Let's see. Saint, I really appreciate the super chat. All the way up. Cheers, Mike. Cheers to you, bro. Let's see. Doa. Mike, sorry for asking again. As I said, you early. You have an 80+% step 1 NBME average. Can I score 260s and 2CK by studying with my step 1 momentum? I think so. Yeah. It's like, but you got to go through step 2. You got a lot of prep to do. I can't over extrapolate your 2CK score based merely on your step 1 NBMEs. It's too much of an over extrapolation. You have to go through an entire step 2 QBank. You have to go through the CMS forms, and then we can like speculate as far as like, we can see like how you're going to perform on 2CK. We can speculate based on your percentages by the time you're in the latter stages of like QBank. But I don't really see a need to speculate, period. Just objectively, we'd have your NBME scores. Guys, you can ask some non-med cues if you want. Carla Reyes, just want to say thank you for your content. Parth, Moonjal, hi Mike. Ankita, just did 90% UWorld and some IM important topics review. What to do in the last month before exam, apart from NBMEs and your high yields. The last month, I don't want you touching QBank. In the last month, I want you doing the NBMEs, as I've said, right? 20 to 31, free 120. For 2CK, you'll be on you'll be finishing the CMS form second pass, and then be doing free 120, then 9 through 14. Tanzim Hoke, hello Mike, I'm new here, but what specialist are you? I'm not fucking practicing. I do USMLE. Sydney Chang, no worries on the book color. Thanks for the help. Ikwahaja Noor, time for step 1 prep. Also going through the QBank the whole day. Also going through the QBank the whole day. When to do your high yield PDFs and YouTube MCQs. I've said you're going to do QBank in the morning, 40 questions, then you're going to have lunch, and then you're going to have the afternoon, evening where you do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. And then if you're having a day where, so you're always going to do the first 40 questions you do in the day in the morning, that's fixed. That doesn't change. You have lunch. Then the second part of the day is flexible. So if you are having an afternoon where you don't want to fucking read my PDFs, you're like ADHDing out, like you don't want to watch my videos or something, you can titrate up to 80 questions in QBank, but I don't want you to do more than 80 questions in QBank. But it's the latter half of the day, to answer your question, that you're going to be doing my highlight PDFs and YouTube MCQs. Judah, I'm doing a second pass of UWorld because I did shitty on my first pass and I was inconsistent. I'm responding to your comment on why I'm doing a second pass of UWorld. Well, okay, I can understand that sentiment that if you did really shitty on your first pass, that you'd want to redo the whole thing. I'm just saying that I never recommend, like, I never advise people to do a second pass of UWorld. It's nothing I like push on people. It's because you should just go to the NBME content after. That's there's a discussion, there's a time and place for that discussion of like, if you came to me and you said I spent the past like 8 months going through UWorld like haphazardly and it's not a legitimate pass, like it's a shitty quote pass, quote unquote, as you just said, sometimes I'll just have a student just like go to Amboss just straight up. I'm like, you're just gonna do Amboss now. That can be how I manage students. Yara Davis, should I do UWorld offline? Guys, you can ask some non-med cues. I've been doing med keys for like over an hour and a half and like crack the fuck out. It's 5:10 a.m. here. Should I do UWorld offline or Amboss online for extending prep because of scoring 60%? Okay. So you're not getting the adequate Yara. You're not getting your adequate scores in 20 to 27. You're saying, should you do Amboss UWorld offline or Amboss online? I mean, I don't really think it matters per se. I've never I've never advised a student to do offline QBank, right? Not to give a strange answer here, but if students can afford to do sessions with me, they never like are worried about getting an online QBank subscription. That concern of like an offline QBank subscription is like, I mean, I've never had a student like insist that they have to do an offline QBanks. Raj Matthew, what's a travel goal you have for the near future? I might go to Turkey this year. I was originally going to go next month, but I'm not. I think I'm going to go to Turkey this year, and then I'm definitely going to go to. I'll be going to Europe in the winter, maybe in December. I go to Europe like every December or January. I'll go to Greece in December. That's basically 100% chance. And then let's see, in the fall, maybe there's a place called Mehlmanmedical, which is like it's north of Tokyo. It's a cold, significantly north of Tokyo, and it's cold there. But they're known for apples, actually. I've never been to Mehlmanmedical, but I want to go out there. It's hard to get to. That's why I haven't been there yet, even though I've lived in Japan for 7 years. But I want to go to maybe an onsen, a hot springs in Mehlmanmedical. I might do that in the fall. And then in the winter, in January, I plan on going to Kushido. Kushido is in Hokkaido, the northern island. They're known for their hot springs. So Sapporo or Sapporo, the capital of Hokkaido, the northern island, I've been there like 4 times. Sapporo is fucking awesome in that you go there and there's a lot of snow. I like going there. I only go there in January, December or January. Okay, I've been there for New Year's twice. But I like going in the winter only because I want there to be heavy snow when I'm there. And then what you do is I've said that it's legal to drink alcohol outside in Japan. I know some of you, I have many followers who are religious, whatever. You don't drink. I get it. Okay, Mike, you're bad. Don't drink alcohol. Okay, I have. I mean, it's not a troll. I have like a lot of Middle Eastern like followers who like think it's bad to drink it. There's no problem with that. I'm just saying something that's fun to do in Hokkaido is you get warm Nihonshu, like hot Nihonshu sake from the convenience store that costs like 80 cents, and it's fucking good. You could take the same fucking Nihonshu. Nihonshu is Japanese rice wine. It's what like foreigners just, when you say sake, right? Foreigners say sake. They're referring to Nihonshu, the Japanese rice wine. Um, but sake actually means alcohol in general. Like beer is sake, like tequila is sake. But Nihonshu is the Japanese rice wine. But you can get like 80-cent convenience store Nihonshu that you could put in like a porcelain tokori, like a porcelain bottle, sell it at some like upper end restaurant in the US for like $100, and you'd be like, this is so good. Oh my God. I could be like a multimillionaire by like, you know, I should get like a cargo. I should like smuggle like tons of like Nihonshu from that costs like $1 to the United States, and then just open like a Japanese chain over there, and then it's like, sell it all for like $100 or something in like porcelain bottles, right? But you can walk around drinking Nihonshu in the snow. That's the best. That I think is like ultimate freedom. That's what I like doing. You walk around in the snow and you drink, because the convenience store you get the Nihonshu, and there's like special Nihonshu you can get in Hokkaido that you can't find here in Osaka. You can get that, and then you ask the person, the clerk in the convenience store, or they'll have the microwave there. You can just self use, and you can heat it up. And I'll heat it up where it's like too hot to touch. But I have like gloves on, and then you walk out with that, and it's like steaming, in the cold, in the freezing air, and you walk around in the snow, and you literally just get like wasted, and you drink like the rice wine, and I'll wear like a turtleneck. It's fucking great. That's what I do in Hokkaido, in Sapporo. But I'll go to Kushido I'll go for the first time to Kushido this winter. I'm thinking, where they have like actual hot springs. They're famous for that. Yeah, but people ask like when I say I go to Hokkaido, they're like, "Oh, like you go there for skiing or something?" I'm like, "No, I don't ski there. I just literally go there to like walk around and like drink in the snow." That's literally what I would do in Hokkaido. Sydney Chang. Let me see. I lost where I was. Oh, that was your travel goal. I just went off about that for like however long. Travel goal for the near future. SW or SXWAS Atoll. All right, non-med question. Thoughts on fetishism? Do you think, as let's say, feet fetish and illness or personal preference? Yeah, that's like weird. I don't have that fetish. No. I don't know if I don't think I have like a specific fetish. Implies like abnormal, like an extreme type of preference or interest, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't really think I fall into a fetish category in that regard. I have like interests in things, yes, unconventional interests, but like I don't think I have like a fetish in that regard. Do you believe in aliens? 2, 3, 4 steps. Um, I don't think. I think if someone doesn't believe in aliens, then like he or she is low IQ. That's what I think. Like, how can you not think that there's other consciousness, not even just consciousness, just life out there? But of course, it's going to be in, you know, not similar to how it is here in many ways, whether it's silicon life that we're developing right now with AI, or um, just levels of consciousness, small and large. Like, of course, there's more out there. I think it's all around us. I talked about this in one of the prior live streams. It's all around us. By the way, it's 5:18 a.m. and I'm going to sleep soon. So anything I say is like cracked out. There you go. But I would say it's already like we just can't bridge the intelligence gap, but it's here. It's like are ants aware that humans are around them? The answer is no, because there's too much of an intelligence gap. So I think that if there's quote unquote aliens here, we just don't know. And maybe AI can be the way to bridge the intelligence gap so that we realize like they've always been here, right? The computer simulation, whatever it is, or just what we see as subatomic particles, galactic formations. That's part of like the computer structure. And then AI has to solve the formulae to bridge that intelligence gap and see that like this is the consciousness construct, and that you know Raj Matthew, is marathon running on your bucket list? I've thought about it, but I don't like being like a 16-year-old cross country like anorexic like track star. That's not like my ideal body preference. Like I'd rather have some mass as a dude. You know what I mean? I was running, like I did a ton of running like earlier this year. And I lost a lot of weight and I got cut. But I haven't run in maybe like at least like 2 weeks, but I'm trying to bulk right now. I'll do more running. Like I will, but I do a lot of skateboarding. I do a lot of walking around. Like I'm active. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to bulk because it's summer, so I'm not like doing a lot of running right now. Judah, what's the scariest thing you've experienced in Japan? I'm trying to think actually. Nothing like is specifically coming to mind. Scariest fucking thing. I don't know if I've had like Japan is really fucking safe. Um, I really don't fucking think I've had like a scary experience, quote unquote, happen here. Like I'm trying to give like some interesting response. Like has literally in 7 fucking years, like anything like fucking crazy or weird happen. Like I've had like one time, maybe it was like 2 a.m. I was leaving the gym and like I was skateboarding and there was like some old Japanese dude and like I think I like brushed him with my skateboard by accident. And then I went into like a late night place to get some food and he came in. This was like a couple of years ago. He came in like screaming and drunk. It wasn't like scary, but it was like he was out of control and he wouldn't leave me alone and they had to like in Japanese culture, they were like, you should like apologize to him because he was like in his 80s or something. Japan's like very like for the when you're young and you have to respect the elders here. That's like a known thing. Gentian, do you practice medicine in Japan or just do tutoring? I said I don't fucking practice. I mean, I do USMLE stuff. Angela, asking med questions. I'm like crack the fuck out right now. Let's see. After this, well, I've got chicken and salad in the fridge. I'll have that. Probably have like another protein shake or something. And then, yeah, I'll just like get ready for bed pretty soon. We'll shower. Probably get to bed by like, I don't know, 8 a.m. That's what I'll do. Bem Goss asking about UWorld. Not fucking answering that right now. Some people get salty when I don't answer like med questions. It's like, well, for the first like hour and a half plus, I was answering med questions. Yeah. How are the strip clubs in Japan? I've never been to a strip club in Japan. The last time I was at a strip club was like when I was in Australia, and it was like I was in first year med. I would have been like 20, I would have been like 23. And so 13 years ago. I'm 36. But it was like I had gone out with a bunch of friends in the city. And then like one of our friends who got us a cab, we were all like wasted. And like one of my friends who got us a cab, he was in second year med, and he was older. He was like in his 30s at the time. He just like at like 4 a.m. He just like without telling us got us a cab to a strip club, and he just like brought us in there. That was the only time I've been to a strip club as like an adult. Like my hometown had like in New York, there was like some like sketch ass fucking like club that would allow like people in there. Like when I was in high school, like I went with friends to like a strip club once, which was like it wasn't like I don't know how they let us in there. So I'd say twice. That was the only time, only twice. It's not an interest. I don't have like an interest in doing that. I think that's more like that's amateur stuff. You know what I mean? Um, let's see. Hmm. Where do you live at? I said I lived in Japan. I'm in Osaka. Gentian, what do you think about gender and transgenderism? I sound 100% straight, but I've said also like I've talked about this in my IG lives quite a bit, actually. Um, that like women are trying to be men, and men are being more feminized. Um, and then ultimately you're just the end result of all this is that you got this transing of the genders. Um, I was talking about this in the context of Andrew Tate. So, I get asked by Andrew Tate like all the time. And I was saying how like the only reason Andrew Tate is a big deal is because men are emasculated. Where like if you if society makes it out where discussing anything about masculinity is a bad thing, if that's considered bad, and you suppress that, then all of a sudden, you got a character who exemplifies the pinnacle of masculinity, whether you fucking agree with it or not. You don't have to like him. I'm just saying it becomes a quote unquote big deal. It's like the 18th and 21st Amendments in the United States with alcohol prohibition. It's like if you make alcohol illegal, all of a sudden it becomes a big fucking deal. Well, if society didn't suppress like masculinity and turn guys into fucking like betas, the only men who are accepted and who are looked upon favorably in society by the masses are like beta fucking dudes. That's the only way you can like you know not get get fucking like lynched on like the internet is like you have to be a beta fucking dude. So the result of that, by suppressing masculinity, by teaching men that they should be betas, the result of that is you get a dude like Andrew Tate who's now a big deal. That shouldn't be like a big deal. The background light. I'm like cracked out right now. Are you a sneaker guy? I actually have a pair of my own shoes with my I have a pair of shoes like an all star. I have all stars with my logo on them. Actually, I'm not fucking into like shoes. That's like a chick thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna make more, Paul. I'm not gonna make more like shirts merch. Um, and I think it's mainly because the Shopify makes it like impossible. Shopify makes it like it's impossible to get a profit margin. Like for example, if you were to buy a shirt that says wrong fucking answer, like how much are you gonna pay? Like 20 bucks max, right? Like you wouldn't want to pay more than that. But if it's like 20 bucks, I actually like lose money on that. I had to make the shirts like 40 bucks to make like, I don't know, like three fucking dollars. And then you're paying to keep the Shopify store open. Makes no fucking sense. So like they're a rip. Uh, but it was like a novelty item. It's not practical. If you want to like sell merch, if you ever create merch in the future, it's more just for fun. You learn it's just for fun slash for like branding type stuff. Like it's a fun activity, but it's you should never expect to like make actual money off of it. Like you're not gonna but I had the store open as I said. And but I wasn't gonna pay a lot of money to Shopify to keep the store open where the profit margins weren't realistic. Guys, it's 5:30 a.m. here. I'm cracked the fuck out right now. All right. In case you can't tell. So I'm gonna end this live stream. I appreciate you guys. All right. And obviously, I'm going to do more of these. So I'll see you guys later.